Hey, it's Josie with Queen My Pawn. I just played an opening I've never played in my life. For those that are curious, d4, d5. Recently of my games, okay, I played d4, but the next move I've never played. In my life, I usually play e4 because I know all the opening theory, but I think my eyes have actually been open to a new discovery. Basically, I've been reading a book, Alexander Kotov, Understanding Chess in the Middle Game. That book has probably re-inspired me yet again. If that opening's re-inspired me, then after reading this book, I have never been happier to lose because now I'm actually learning something from the games. And I have a clear objective in my games. It's basically opposite castle and then just attack the king with all my pawns. And it's basically a very sharp game, which is what I've been trying to get out of openings the whole time. That's why I've been playing the Schliemann, which is sharp right away. And there's lots of tactics and nothing is closed. So I got to get the game as open as possible. And I play e4. This is called the Blackmore-Deemer gambit after f3. So far, I have given up a pawn, but I have an open E and F file, which I can put my rooks on at some point in the game. So I'm just looking at the F file right now. But the E file is a possibility. Play c6, which is not something I would suggest here. Maybe he wants to play knight f6 and then knight d5, but obviously knight f6 is more flexible than that. Okay, bishop f4. So like I said earlier in the beginning of the game, I want to castle queenside and launch everything at the king. Okay, bishop f5. His kingside is really not developed yet. I would have expected knight f6 and e6 by this point. Knight c3, and then queen d2 and kingside castle. But in this position, I didn't play queen d2. Did I? I played bishop d3. The idea is this. If I can trade on f5 by playing bishop f5, bishop takes f5, his pawns would be doubled, and that could aid in his kingside attack, but my king won't be there. My king will be on the queen side, and I have the queenside majority, able to defend my king against any onslaught of pawns, and I'll have more security on the queen side, is what I'm trying to say. That e pawn won't contest me. Okay. He played bishop g6. By the way, bishop takes c3 as a move, but then queen takes c3, and I'm basically too far ahead in development. Bobby Fischer actually wrote about that in his book. He says he heard a teacher explaining it to an amateur. You attack one piece, the piece captures it, but it brings out another, so you really haven't stopped white's development. Okay, now this is a short move for sure. He should play h5, but at that point, his kingside is definitely weak. Bishop to d6. Now, normally queen d2 is a move, but I played knight to e5. Very interesting. If bishop takes e5, I would have done either bishop takes back or pawn takes. Now, I don't want to do pawn takes because that would leave my queen side kind of unsecure. So, of course, I would do bishop takes e5. If f6, then at that point, I'd probably play queen g4. Bishop takes c3, queen takes g7. That's what I saw in the game. And the rook is trapped. Well, he does have queen to f6 Then I have queen takes b7. So it's a short game. And of course, my rook is defending on f1 at that point. So, I mean, here's what I mean, right? Well, actually, I can't play queen takes g7 here. Oh, well. But probably sell it in the next move. I probably just play this, actually. Just knight takes g6. That was the idea. Much simpler. And then bishop takes g6. Right? If bishop takes f4, knight takes f4, winning a piece. All right, moving on. So, yeah, at this point, I saw ideas of queen g3. So I started with knight to e4, with the idea of knight takes f7 and knight takes d6. Of course. But now look at this. His king is in the middle. When your king is in the middle, you are toast. You're a toaster strudel. That's a car farting in the distance. Okay, anyways. Yeah, you're a toaster strudel if you do not get your king out of the middle. So, obviously, it wouldn't move the bishop back, but I would play it Morphy style by sacrificing my own bishop. And once I've done that, he is really toaster strudel now. He does have queen a5 check here. Maybe his king could have escaped to the queen side. Maybe knight f6 was stronger, perhaps. Queen a5 is still a move. His rook should move, and then queen takes h7. I guess we could check what the engine says at this point. It says it likes knight d6. And king f8 and castle kingside, but obviously I wouldn't want to follow the engine's suggestions because the engine just wants a winning endgame, and that's really not in my interests. Actually, if you study Alekin's games, Alexander Alekin, a world champion in the 1920s, you will find that he would not want to go into an endgame unless absolutely necessary. He just wanted to finish in the middle game, and that's what Judit Polgar says as well. She just wants to go for the king and finish the game as fast as possible. Why be inhumane about it by prolonging the suffering? That is my attitude, anyways. Knight d6, king f8, and you queenside castle. If he takes, then the attack is relentless. Probably just rook f1, for example. Or actually, no, just checkmate. The bind is too strong here. But really, I did not see any of that in the game. I, of course, wanted to sacrifice because, first of all, I think Rudolf Spielmann said this. I see it on the Lichess website all the time. The sacrifice shouldn't have to be correct, but it should be one that leaves your opponent dazed and confused. It's either knight f6, says with negative 0.8, or bishop takes f6, which is +1, which means I made the right choice here. So moving on. He really did have queen a5 still, didn't he? Oh, b4, of course. And then you still claim the initiative. If queen b2, now really this is an interesting move. King d7 and rook b1, and wow, sayonara. Rook takes b7 and bishop to e5 is checkmate after king takes knight. So the game is really fun when you just go for the king. Moving on. So he didn't have queen a5 in the first place. That's good to know. Although I got lucky there. All right, rook f1. All right, so at this point I'm down a piece, and it looks like I am not getting it back. But that's not the point of the game. I don't want material. So I queenside castle. And this pin on the knight is just too much for black. I don't know how he expects to get out of this. If g4, which is obviously the next move. He's trying to artificially castle, but he's just on the wrong side of the board. he should have been going towards the queen side here. I take the knight, threatening pawn takes and rook takes. He moves out the way, but now this is where the attack begins for real. Obviously, if the pawn takes, king takes is forced, or I'm just better, and I'm up a pawn. So now the attack really begins. The king is in the middle, and he's not getting out of there. I did see that I can move my queen to g3 at some point, and prevent his escape towards the queen side, which is what he wants. Okay, rook to e1. Can you find the winning continuation after this? And I'll count to 3 so you can pause the video and figure it out. 1, 2, 3. Well, after this, it's forced that the king has to go this way. Now I force the king back onto the right square, which is d5. If king d5 immediately, then I think that would have presented somewhat more difficulties. But I have c4 checkmate after, well, not checkmate, because c4, like this is a variation, king d5. If king d5 right now, c4, king d6, queen g3 to prevent escape from to c7 and c8, check. Rook to f4 at least wins the exchange back. Could go for more, but I was in time trouble at this point. I don't see where exactly, since I'm on the mobile, how much time I had left, but it was probably a minute. So that's something you can analyze for yourself, but the game continued king d6 and queen g3, and now this is a forced win after rook to e5. Knight takes is obviously going to be checkmate, and let's see, queen takes, king to c4, and then it's checkmate after queen to c5. So he shouldn't take the rook, but if he runs away, I just win the queen, and he has to block with the queen, which I would just win the queen outright. Or if king to d7, notice he's threatening to take my rook on f1, but I didn't see this in the game, hence you will find out that I did not play this variation. And that wins the queen. So I didn't see that final move, rook to e1, unfortunately, so I went with the continuation of c4. Now this is still forcing, not really, because now I didn't see king takes d4, and so the game is unfortunately prolonged, but in the end, I'm still winning. He did have b5 here. Now I was getting in time trouble, and I was assuming that I was going to lose the game. After b5, I don't know how I could have continued that. I wonder what the engine says. Yeah, it says I blew my lead. b5, b4 check, king takes c4, rook c1, king d5, rook f d1, king e4. I guess he's still forced onto the king side, which is good for me. I got lucky because he played king d6, which loses. And sayonara. He resigned at this point. I've never played this opening in my life. But I don't think the game is just about openings. It's important to know the openings because you need to learn to play sharp and get used to sharp positions like these, where it's not about getting an ending. Most people that begin playing the game will start by trying to get a winning ending. And that has been my experience in tournaments. I would suggest turning the game as sharp as possible because at the lower levels, no one knows how to defend. This is a clear example of it. That's it.